Module 9, page 169, India's Gods and Goddesses, the mythology. So, what's this about? Let's see. The yoga mythology presents us with something like, 300 million? Yeah, 330 million gods in the palette of gods that are presented through stories and in these great books, sacred books like Bhagavad Gita and Mahabharata and the Ramayana and these great epic stories. These all stories are nothing more than parts of us represented through several different aspects of the universe. But they're all contained within us. So as you start learning these stories, you become identified with some of them. You understand, different characters of the stories, and what I find amazing is that these are so old, but they apply to today. We'll talk a lot about a few of them, but for this introduction, what I want to explain is just that. As you begin the yoga practice, you begin steering and connecting all the layers of our being, our koshas, but also steering, moving things around from the physical layer to the energetic layer to the mental and emotional layers. Everything gets steered around. So all of a sudden, these energies that you have stored, and there's a stagnation with feelings, and everything comes out. And this is actually portrayed in one of the stories of how this yoga steers the ocean, right? Now, for these stories, it's good to know who these characters are, because I could tell you, yeah, this guy was doing this other guy was doing that, but if you don't know who those guys are, it doesn't have as much meaning. So the more you know the characters, the gods and goddesses, the more you understand these stories. Now, these gods and goddesses are not God the Supreme. Like I said, in essence, they're really actually parts of us, represented in many facets. Through our many dualities, that's why they have always a counterpart. All gods have a female counterpart. Okay, so they're not God, they're not the Supreme, they're not the Brahman. We have Atman, our soul, Brahman is the Supreme, and underneath the Supreme, there's all the gods. And of course, biggest God is Brahman. So it's also confusing too, because it uses the same word, kind of like the prana vayus, how the prana is one, but then we have prana, apana, udana, vyana. Samana, vyana. Then same here. It's kind of confusing because the biggest God has the same God as the same name as the Supreme, but he's not the Supreme. He's just the creator, right? So anyways, part of the reason why, because some people may go, well, why do I want to know this? And part of the reason why we want to know this is because, well, first of all, it's cultural knowledge. But even for the mat, like at your physical practice, sometimes you understand how to do a posture based on these stories. So it's even useful for the practice. But as you find these stories, you will be like, oh, you will relate to them. It happens to all of us, and some of them will become your favorite deities. And these are the ones that you will channel your devotion to in the Bhakti Yoga and so on. See how it works? So for some people, this topic is quite interesting and they really want to know. They're hungry for this. And for some people, maybe they're, very religious or something, and you talk about gods and there's all these things hanging in the yoga room. It's kind of like, what? It's like short circuit to how they feel or what they think yoga is. So we kind of have to be careful how we present them, right? Because we want people to understand what this is about. Now, these deities have many uses. Like, one of them is actually to catch, like, we can use them for meditation purposes, for the concentration of the mind. So you fix yourself in one of these deities. That's one of the reasons that they're so intricate. Because you can forget or, lose your attention on a simple object, but a very intricate object, detailed, you focus your attention, especially if you're visualizing it inside, you see? So, and this is the same reason why you find, all sorts of statuettes and things like that in like religious temples. Is because it's a form of control of your channel of perception. Makes sense? So that's what they're for, as well in the practice. Okay. I think that's a good introduction. So in the subsequent videos, I will talk to you about from the origin of yoga in the mythological, and then we'll cover some of the code of the warrior and some of the classic postures and the stories behind them, so that you become a little familiar with them. And maybe it's a good idea that you read the section of the manual, because it enlists God. Don't read the first part, let me see. Give me a moment. If you haven't read the manual, we'll cover the first stories next, but you can start reading from page 173 to Vishnu, the preserver, and Ganesha, and Parvati, and Durga. So I enlist some of the gods, not all of the gods, but some of the gods, and just read about them, just see who they are. If you don't know anything about who the gods are, read about those before you watch the next set of videos, in which we'll talk about all of them. Okay? Make sense? Namaste.